Hey Aran,
How you doing, Rick? You right?
I'm okay. What about you?
Yeah, Rick, I'm good, thank you. Nice to see you again. I know I've been away for a little while, but I'm back now, and yeah, looking forward to the journey again.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, you have been away. I mean, we haven't had any sessions direct. Of course, we have communicated a lot through messages, and you send me your games, and we
Yeah,
swapped some positions. But the good news is you also have quite increased your rating, haven't you?
yeah, about 850, so moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I guess when we started, you were about 550 with the goal to get to 1,000, and now you're 300 points higher already.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
only about 150 away. Should I stay at this level? It's still very tough.
Yeah, it is. And I guess if you get close to the goal, it might become more difficult, or maybe not. Maybe you just cruise through like you have done. So, yeah, so we said in this session we'll look at three of your games, which I'll turn into three videos for Chess to Impress so that viewers can keep following your progress.
Yeah,
Um, and we agreed which games they would be. So the first one here is against Bury 981 with a rating
yeah,
of 1,059 and you had a rating of 844 when this game was played.
yeah,
It was played on the 26th of April 2023. So let's go through the game. I'll give you my comments, and please give me your comments if you remember what you were thinking or if you have any questions. Uh,
yeah.
we'll go through that. So your opponent opened with the e-pawn, and you always answer in a classical way with e5, which is a very good way to do it. Get a pawn in the center. F4, it's called the King's Gambit. It was very popular in the 19th century. It's still being played now and then. And indeed, the main move here is to take. We have a game where you decided to play knight c6 instead on move two. This move, we'll see that later. But in this game, you decided to take on f4. Knight f3, knight c6, knight c4, and knight f6 developing. Um, yeah, I guess if you play knight f6 before you play this pawn to d6, you always have to look at what happens after e5. It wasn't played, but this is a move, attacking your knight, you cannot take it because it's defended.
Mm.
So um, it's not a big problem. You can play the knight somewhere, but of course you don't really want to be harassed so early with a knight on f6. So from a practical point of view, it's probably easier to play a move like d6 so that you then can bring your knight to f6 later. And if a pawn comes there, you just swap
Yeah,
it off.
because I'm noticing in my games sometimes I have to move the knight all around because it's getting attacked and
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's not a disaster, but you want to make your life as easy as possible. You want to develop your pieces as easily as possible. So in this position, when you say, I want to play knight f6, the knight wants to go there. That's a natural square for the knight. But that's the whole point of the King's Gambit. If we go a few moves back, what is the point of f4? Well, one point is to lure that pawn away from e5 so that you don't have that foothold in the center anymore. And then e4, e5 is always an option for white. It's a pawn sacrifice for white,
yeah,
temporarily. But that's the point of the King's Gambit. So and then I would say, from a practical point of view, just play d6 before you bring your knight out, so that you're not harassed by a pawn coming there. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. But he didn't play it. He castled. You gave check, d4, and yeah. If you do attackers versus defenders, then
got two attackers on D4 and I've got two defenders, so that's not good.
no. So you lose a piece if you take. So bishop b6 was played, and he takes his
Mm.
pawn back with bishop takes f4. And of course,
Yeah,
he has a nice. This is a nice pawn center. And he's got his pawn back, so he's happy. But I mean, all your pieces are doing well as well, and you castled, and he played bishop g5, pinning your knight, and I guess then a threat like e5 would be strong, wouldn't it? Because then your knight cannot play because of the pin,
yeah,
and that's why you probably saw that, I think, and you decided to kick that bishop straight away.
yeah,
Um, he decided to take on f6. Well, that's resolve the issue of a possible pin. You took back, of course, with the queen. Keep your pawn structure in front of your king intact, so it's all good. Position is about equal. c3. Now you play d6. As I said, I think that move probably should have been played a handful of moves earlier to get a bit of a foothold in the center yourself. It's so important to get a foothold in the center. And now you play d5. And now it's not a very good move, because if we do attackers versus defenders of that pawn.
I've got 3. I've got the knight, the pawn on d6, and the queen.
Yeah. And he has how many defenders?
He 2, the pawn on d4 and the knight on f3.
Yeah. So it looks like you can win a pawn because it's 3 versus 2. Of course, it's a little bit more tricky because after taking, which is a good move, the best move, he took first with his knight, and now the problem is, and you saw it, that the queen is attacked.
Yes.
So you cannot play knight takes e5, and then because then he will take your queen, and that wouldn't be good. So you had to do something about that. Well, I guess you didn't see it because you played rook d8 here. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so it's a bit tricky. So we always talk about attackers versus defenders, and after e5, it looks like that pawn is attacked 3 times and defended only twice. So you can take it, but there's a little tricky business that after d takes e5, knight takes e5, you cannot take on e5 because your queen is attacked. So, but you have another move. This is a really nice position. It's quite complex.
Right.
Do you see a good move here for black? His queen is attacked.
Can I play bishop to d4?
Okay, and what is the point of bishop takes d4? I know it's check, but what is, you give away a piece?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've been looking at, like, when I watch chess, I should have probably thought this through a bit more before answering, but some of these moves I see where, that they check and it's force move. I don't know. I was trying to just think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, well, it is good that what you saw, because this is actually the answer to the question I asked you is based on the fact that the bishop is looking at the king. You may remember.
Yeah, I could have took on e5.
Exactly. With which piece?
I would take with the queen.
Exactly, because the queen is attacked by the rook. So you need to save your queen, and you say, thank you very much. I'm taking a free piece because the d pawn is pinned.
Yeah, you know what? I've been noticing pins a lot more now. I didn't this time, don't get me wrong, but if you looked at a scope of my games, I'm noticing pins a lot more.
Yeah, and this is a difficult pin. This is quite a difficult sequence of moves, and so no problem that you didn't see it.
And don't get me wrong, I got this wrong, like the pin, but what I got right was I can see that my bishop, exactly, g1. I know that, it provides a forcing move, or in this case, it doesn't provide a forcing move. It provides a move he cannot do because the diagonal. So I was there. I could see it, like.
Yeah. So, but well, and I'm not worried that you didn't see this because this is quite complex. It starts with e5 with 3 attackers versus 2 defenders. But if you take it, which is a good move, then he plays that one, and suddenly your queen is attacked on f6. And what do you do about that? Well, okay, you didn't see that, but it looks like you cannot take on e5 now. But then, after all, you can take on e5 because the d pawn is pinned. So complex sequence of moves.
Yeah.
And if I just want to go back to the start of the game, the drawback of the king's gambit of playing that f pawn is that this diagonal becomes weak for white. That's if his king is castled on the king side, then that is a diagonal that you sometimes can use with black because he has played that f pawn away from the sheltered position for the king.
Yeah.
So we just learned a few things about those openings. Anyway, back to the game. So here you did not spot that you could take the knight. You also didn't spot that your queen was attacked. You played rook d8, and he said, "Thank you very much. I'll take your queen."
Oh.
Pity. The good news is you get now knight takes e5, and the d pawn is still pinned, so he cannot take it. So at least you get a piece there. Um, and his rook is now hanging. This is attacked. This is attacked by your knight. So it looks like you're going to get quite a bit of material for your queen. What he does is a good move. He gives up on the rook and gets something for it, gets the bishop for it. You take back, and then he's protecting his bishop. The bishop that was attacked, he's protecting it. What else can he do to? What is a good move for white here? Can he, for example, take your knight? Just take a piece off. Is that an option for white?
No, because I'm attacking his queen.
Exactly. It's not a pin. It's pin in a different way. First, we had the pin like this.
Yeah.
And now we have the pin like this.
Yeah.
But it's so different pin, but the same topic. So he cannot take your knight. He saw that. That's why he played queen e2. He's just protecting his bishop, which was attacked on c4 and not defended. So that's a good move. And yeah, white is material up. He really needs to get these two guys in the game, but he's material up.
Yeah.
You played knight c6, saving your knight because the pin was no longer there. So that's a good move. Queen h5. Yeah, putting his finger on that little sore spot. You saw that, and you developed and cover f7 at the same time.
Yeah, I was trying to do something. Too many times I've let how both pieces are looking at f7. Too many times in my life, in my chess small career, I'm not registered it, but I'm trying to defend the squares a lot more now.
Yeah, and f7 and f2, they are the weak squares on the chessboard, especially in e4, e5 openings. So yeah, it's always good to look out for those. But yeah, now he played d5, and yeah, even though you had that, you solved that problem for f7, but now he has a fork like that. So
it's not going well. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm not having a good day at the office. I've put forward this game for us to analyse. Because it's been a few days. I can't quite remember it now, but I sent it you for a reason, so I'm excited to see why.
Okay, well, let's keep going, and then we can go back to some points if you want, if you remember earlier moments. You decided to kick the queen,
nice.
But yeah, that gives up on the h-pawn.
Oh.
And now, yeah, because your bishop and knight are still forked, you decided to... Well, yes, it's actually a good point. I'm going to ask you the question on it. So the pawn is forking your bishop and your knight. How many times is this pawn attacked and defended?
It's attacked twice by the bishop and the rook, and defended once by the bishop.
Yeah.
So I could have took that.
You took it, indeed, and that's where you get out of that. So actually, the G, and here in the pin, it's different because the queen is also covering that pawn. So now it's attacked twice and defended twice. So maybe, if you remember, in your genius, you played g6 to deflect the queen of that defense of the pawn.
I think what I remember is I've got a threat. I'm going to create a bigger threat. And I must have tried to do that just to buy me some time. I thought, oh, how do I get out of that? Well, I'll attack the queen first, just to create a bigger threat, just to deflect it. And then I've worked it out somehow.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea. It doesn't work because he can always play queen f3, and that still keeps the pawn protected and saves his queen. But he didn't see that. He took on h6, and then you took on d5. So even though it was not completely working, I still like the idea a lot that you try to deflect the queen. That's great. You didn't do that 6 months or a year ago, you know. Bishop takes, rook take. The problem, of course, that you're still material down because you lost your queen through that by his rook. So even though you made some very good moves, you're just too much material down to save this game. He desperately needs to develop his pieces, so he does. Knight a3. And yeah, this is not a very good move because he can just take it.
And I played that.
Yes.
Oh my God. Why have I put this game forward? It's a miracle happened. I don't know what's going on here.
No, Yeah, let's go to the end because it's over in a few moves. Rook takes knight e5. Yeah, you just have not enough pieces left. Knight b5. You grab the pawn, and he mated you in one. Yeah, this was well, Bury knight a1. That's one of the games you asked for. So, yeah, do you remember? Can you remember now, not that we've seen the whole game, why you requested this?
No,
Okay, no.
I I might have got, I might have picked up the wrong name. There was there was one game where I had a fabulous comeback, and it was a war, and it was absolutely brilliant. So I'll
Okay.
have to try and win that game. It was on the 26th of April, so I'll have to go through and see. But
Yeah.
I don't think it was this one. But no, listen, there's still learning tips. The pins, blundering
Yeah.
pieces. I've never been shy to show a loss.
No.
You
Yeah. No. That's one of the nice things about you. You're not. You don't try to. Um, you really try to learn, and of course, you learn a lot more from losses than from wins. So I commend you for that. Yeah, I think a crucial position and a difficult position is this one where he played e5. There's a lot going on here: pins and attackers versus defenders, and a discovered attack on your queen. It's all happening here. Um, D takes e5 is the right move, but after knight takes e5, yeah, as we saw, you can just take the knight for free. And then this is a crucial moment because instead of taking a knight for free, you lost you gave away your queen.
yeah,
Uh, so, but that's the story of this game really. And then then you were just too much material down, and he played it well. Um, he had a nice little deflection. I like that move. So when he
try
played later, where was that? He played d5. Uh,
just after the fork.
yes, look for the move here, d5. Yeah, with the fork, and now you saw. Okay, I cannot take on d5 because it's protected twice. So you try to deflect the queen. I mean, it worked. As I said, he could have played the queen to f3 and still keep the pawn protected on d5, but he took, and then you could save your piece. That was nice.
Yeah. No, thank you. Like, look, it's all lessons. Do you know what I mean? I've got this
Yeah,
obviously confused with another game, but in
yeah.
my next, if I win a free piece because I've spotted a pin, then hey, this game's it's worth it anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. All your games are I mean, all games are rich. There's always something to learn. Yeah, so it's fine. But indeed, it was not your best game, but
Fair
still
enough.
good to. And then this guy was over 1,000, so this is the level you will be at very soon, and then you'll
Yeah.
compete with these guys.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rick.
Okay. Anything else on this one before we leave it?
No, thank you.
Okay.